Hi, and welcome to Evadyne with Company, Talk Worth Listening to. We are here on the Grown Folk Talking Express Yourself Progressive Podcast Network. You can check out our YouTube at Grown Folk Talking Express Yourself. You'll know you're on the right page, channel, where you see the hot mic because we have very hot topics here. Today is Monday, January 8th, 2024. I am welcoming all to participate in this talk today and share some information about yourself, about your future. We're looking at 2024. It's rolled in. Time waits for no one. So it's rolled in, and we just want to know how we're going to roll with it, where we can be the most successful people and share that success, share those lessons, those guidelines for success with those around us. And the question would also be, how do you know what to leave behind and what to carry with you into your successful future? That's very important. Prior to coming on today, I was listening to Terrence Howard, Dr. Terrence Howard, the actor. I listened to it over the weekend, and it was so impactful in my mind that I wanted to go back and find it so I could just share a little bit of him. I'm not sure how many of you were aware prior to me calling him Dr. Terrence Howard, that he is a mathematical scientific genius. And I tell you, we all do our thing that we do, that thing that we get paid to do, as in work and a job. But that's just one element of who we are. And if we're in the public eye, that is how the public sees us. But it's so much bigger than that. We are so much bigger than that. It's so great. So part one is going to be moving into 2024, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 2031, 2, 3, 4, 5. As I mentioned, the young bucks, they'll be here. They'll be here a long time, and we're going to be here as long as we can, and we want to be here as happy as possible, as successful and fulfilled as possible. And so just thinking about what we can do to make that happen. I am Evadyne. Evadyne with Company, Talk Worth Listening to is the name of my show. I'm actually launching a podcast network. Haven't fine-tuned the name, but I do believe it's going to be the Networking for Success for You podcast network. Networking for Success for You podcast network. And it's going to be about empowerment and education and inspiration and motivation and, just sharing it on so many different levels. So if you know anyone who's interested in bringing that, and what made me think about that was because there are many conversations about what's not being taught in the traditional school system, lower level and higher level education, and what we feel needs to be taught. And I thought those who know it, put together the program, put together the lessons that you know, and put them on the universal platform. See, I don't call, even though it's www, World Wide Web, I believe the world is about Earth. But I know there are folks who are working very hard on the satellite issues, on the moon, on Mars. They're like outside of this world. So I'm calling it a universal platform because I'm sure they can plug into YouTube. Hi, guys. We're here. If you're listening. It's a universal platform. So I wanted to bring that type of information. And it might be, well, I'm sure it's out there because I listened to 19 Keys and Dr. Valentine and Black Magic 363. So I know, that information is all over this platform, the www platform. It's out there. But I wanted to just control a little bit of it in a sense of my direction. I met someone the other day, and when I told them I was a spirit within a spirit, and it was the first time I said it, but it felt so whole and appropriate when I said it, and they received it. So it was appropriate. It was appropriate for the conversation and the talk. We all do what we do, and we do what we do based on the way we're guided. Um, so that's how I do what I do. I am perfectly who I'm supposed to be. People speak about no one's perfect and perfection. Well, man makes up words, and then in the definition of those words, they limit some of our thinking. I know I am perfectly who I am supposed to be because I am doing the things I am supposed to be doing. And it changes, but it's all within the same line. Since I was an infant, I've been doing the same thing as a toddler, as a young child, as a teenager, as an adult. Okay, that's it, right? After an adult, once you're grown, young people, once you're grown, once you become an adult, you're an adult forever. So don't be in such a hurry to do some of the things that adults are doing, like you won't get there. Just wait till your age is appropriate to do some of those things. And I'm speaking about I know there's a lot of young people who are smoking and a lot of young people who are drinking, and I know that's not it's sort of an age-related issue because my idea is that if you can't purchase it legally, then you probably shouldn't be using it legally. Um, so that's why I say don't be in such a hurry. Once you're grown, you're grown. I think everyone can agree with that. But I have been who I am since birth, and my personality and the work that I do, along with, there's just so many things that I do, but the main work that I do is about affecting people's lives in the way that they need their lives to be affected. I bring information to them that they need to receive. And it's because they may be praying or chanting or meditating or just asking with all hands up and down for this information. I seem to bring it to them. And it provides them with some resolution and some peace. Back in the 90s, I think it was 1994, I produced a show on Broadway called Group Therapy. And anonymously, the audience wrote down their issues, and I facilitated from the stage with the help of the audience responding to what they wrote down. Group, the audience, therapy, working it out. Makes sense, right? It was great. It was a one-nighter on Broadway, but I was committed to going to Broadway before age 35. That was my commitment since I was a kid, because in the second grade, when I walked across the stage and recited My Shadow by Robert Louis Stevenson, I loved the sound of my heels, that wood on wood, that click, 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 click. I love that sound. I was like, I like this. That was already in my head from the second grade, maybe even before. However, that's all about deliverance. I'm thinking about that now. That's all about having the attention of others and delivering information. That's what that is about. The stage. Because believe it or not, when I was younger, I hated the sound of my voice, like hearing it recorded back when I would have to record. Okay, young people, you don't know what this is. But we used to have answering machines at home connected to our phone. And when I would have to record the outgoing message, I was like, oh my gosh, listen to me. Okay, that was then. I kind of like the sound of my voice now, because I went from being an infant to a toddler to a child to a teen, and now I'm an adult. And it's developed. along. Either it's developed or my ear has developed, one or the other. But I just want to this part two of this is going to be about helping you prepare for this tax season that we're in now. Today, for me, is the kickoff of my tax season. I'm a registered tax preparer over 20 years in the business and actually became a TurboTax expert this season. One of my clients referred me, so I said, you gotta know why doors are being opened for you. So that's that. I have about 200 clients personally. And with that TurboTax expert, I will be helping people who are filing online if they have questions or need support. I'll be one of them. I'm not the only one, thankfully. I'll just be one of them. But I look forward to the experience. Last year, I actually took my business virtual and in person and on site. I came out of my office last season, and it was a great experience. I told my clients, I feel like we're cheating, like I'm cheating, because we were out at the restaurant, socializing, doing our work. It was really nice. But even when they came into my office, it's almost the same thing. I would feed them, we would play music, we would chat. It was like a reunion. So we're going to go over some of the do's and don'ts and the wills and won'ts of tax season in the second half. But I'd like to open up the call right now. If anyone would like to share some information about their 2024 and moving forward, their goals, and any suggestions on how to leave behind what's not going to help you move forward, right? Leave behind what's not going to help you move forward, and how to best focus on your goals and accomplishing and being successful with your mission, if you would like to.
Hi, Evadyne. This is Jada again.
Hi.
I think one of the important things for all of us to realize is that we cannot go back and change the past. And so if you cannot go back and change it, then you have to move forward. And you do that by accepting the fact that what's done is done. Learn whatever lessons you should learn from it, but plan and prepare to move forward. I think sometimes we let our scars become bars. We allow what has happened to us, what has hurt us, what has damaged us, what has disappointed us, to control us in that we can't release it and move forward. And so I think purposely planning to move forward, saying, what is it that I need? What is it that I want? And really knowing enough about yourself so that the wants and the needs are not based on somebody else's version of you or who you think you should be, but in fact based on spending quiet time with yourself, planning a life that suits you, and knowing that you deserve peace, you deserve joy, you deserve comfort, you deserve kindness, you deserve love. And if you know that you deserve these things, then you are open to receiving them, and come up with a plan and get your inner circle together. I call my prayer partners my God squad. So have those people that support and nourish you mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally.
Thank you. Thank you, Jada. Jada, please announce your show, and if you have a business, tell us about your business and how people can contact you.
Okay, my show is called Grace Space, and it is on the Grown Folks Talking Network on Tuesdays, 6 to 7 East Coast time. And at Grace Space, we take a holistic approach to health and healing. We cover different topics, but we always want to make sure that we're leaving you with something good. some information, some encouragement. Sometimes we tackle heavy subjects. For instance, we did a show on narcissistic relationships, and sometimes it's light and easy. We've talked about yoga. We've talked about um, songs from saluting Black music in June and talking about our favorite songs and all that. Tomorrow, I'm going to have a special guest, a young lady who is a singer, a writer. She covers all genres of music. So if you're available tomorrow from 6 to 7, come and check us out on Gray Space. I am also a life coach, and so I can be reached at jada.liftedlifecoach@gmail.com. Or if anyone wants to reach out by text or by talking, I will give you the number for that. Give me just a second. And Evadyne, thank you for the opportunity for me to share this information. The phone number is 980-216-6735. And Evadyne, I want to thank you because you bring your whole self to this platform. And I love it when people are giving from their soul. So thank you for just being you.
I thank you. You are welcomed, and I thank you. And Jada, please tell us, because this is appropriate for today's talk, tell us the value and the purpose of a life coach.
A life coach is someone who guides you to becoming the best version of you. They are walking alongside you and helping you to see things about yourself, things about life, in a space that allows you to be you. And what I mean by that is life coaches don't come with preconceived ideas about who you should be and how you should be. The goal should be to allow you, through different exercises, conversations, and reflections, to figure out what your core beliefs are, what your limiting beliefs are. These are the things that you believe to be true that may not be true, and that even if they are true, you see them as something that hinders you. And to encourage you to grow and become the best version of you. And again, I believe in a holistic approach, so an approach that allows you to learn and discover who you are mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. And there are different types. Some specialize in relationships, some specialize in working with women or with men or with young people. I typically work with women, and I'm enjoying learning and connecting with young women. But I also work with men, and I talk with people. I'm big on relationships and relationship building. I do not specialize in health in the sense of an exercise coach or a nutritionist, um, or finances. I don't. Those are not my specialties. But relationships, living authentically, and finding your best version of you, those would be areas that I particularly work in.
I thank you. And um, so I'll say it like this: not everyone can sing a lullaby and put someone to sleep, allow them to relax. But Jada, I must admit, you have an angelic voice. You have a voice that if a person came frazzled, it would only last about 2 seconds once you had a chance to speak. You know, your voice is so calming and clear, and it's almost like you open the door to someone's soul to allow yourself to enter, and not invasively, but their soul needing you to come in. Your voice is marketable. Marketable.
Thank you. I a few years ago, I was talking with God, and I said, God, I want you to help me help others. And I was thinking, because we were talking one day about if you could have a magic power, what would you want? And somebody said, I'd want to live forever. And the other person said, well, if you live forever, everyone you know and love is going to pass away. And I thought, something to think about. And then I thought, I want to help people heal. I want that to be my superpower. And God said, okay, I got you. And He started providing opportunities. And I was already doing that with the people that I came in contact with, uh, being that calm spirit. There are some life coaches and some motivational speakers that are very dynamic. They walk into the room and you know that they're there. I am that gentle breeze that kind of slowly blows by you. Or I'll call it a soft scent. I'm a sweet, gentle smell, you know.
That's funny because when you first said you're a gentle, you're soft, I thought to myself, a waif of sweet air, just a waif. Like someone looked and said, "What was that? Like, did you feel it?" And then in my mind, I'm saying it, and then you followed up with that. That's right. That's right. A scent of a person's favorite aroma. Like when they, well, again, you walk into their soul. Beautiful, beautiful.
Oh,
So I invite you to reach out to Jada, and so I relate life coaches, and based on what you said, to a therapist without a license, in a sense, because we go for guidance when we go to see. Okay, when we go into the supermarket and we know we want something fresh and ripe, but we don't know exactly what it is to add to our recipe, then we go to the produce department and we talk to a knowledgeable person, right? We go ask for what we need, what we're looking for to make that dish correct. So, with therapists, with life coaches, with dear friends, with people who receive and deliver not what you want them to say, but what you need, really, it all falls in the same scope. In my book, I recommend that people go see a chaplain and speak to a chaplain. And this one young lady said, "Your book is wonderful, but the only thing is you never mention God." I said, "God is throughout my entire book." Because really, as one knows God and the Creator is my co-author. Because I feel there is nothing good that I do, really nothing that I do, but nothing good and for the purpose of being purposeful that I do without the Creator. I tell people my co-driver, my co-cooker, my co-speaker, my co-walker, my co-writer. Like, I take credit for writing the book, but even when I speak publicly about it, I say I'm the writer and the co-author because it is all that I do. paying attention. That's what I do. I say my antennas are so far up that, well, it kind of bumps into the clouds on occasion, but no damage, no damage. They're pretty soft. My antennas are up, and I pay very close attention to the information that I receive that I should be delivering. I do. And I was mentioning from an infant because, so if you do not know, my books are, it's two books and they're Siamese twins. One is just softer than the other with 2,000 additional words. And that one is titled Mind is to Mental as Teeth Are to Dental, and We All Have a Mind. Because we do. And when I speak publicly and people then say, "Are you a psychologist?" I tell them by definition, because you have to do the work, whether it's through your studies or as a resident or an associate, before you get the stamp. So by definition, some people become accountants but never become CPAs, which is a certified public accountant. So the certification I do not have. I do not have a license in psychology. But when I say it's bigger than us, I say it because I know it for a fact. My name, spelled Evadyne, is not how my mother saw my name. She originally saw my name as Evadyne, Evadyne. She added the Y. 20 years before I was born, the way she spells my name with the Y, it was established as a pharmaceutical antidepressant.
Wow.
And she never knew that. She never knew it. And we have all these phrases. Young people, I speak to the young people because, they're always listening. Young people, pay attention, because everything around you means something. I heard someone say young people are like microwaves. Everything is instant. I don't know if their brains are capturing or if they're just moving right through this quantum leap that we're on. But my mom used to always say to me, because we'd be driving around, and I'd be talking to people out the window, conversation might last a little while. And she said, "Do you always have to talk to everybody?" And I say, if they need to talk to me. Because, and that was just my saying, I've only found out she had already transitioned prior to me finding out that the way she spells my name is actually a pharmaceutical antidepressant. It's called Evadyne. But these catchphrases, it's all in the name. We need to pay attention to these phrases that are kind of around us for decades, for centuries, right? Like, that child's been here before. Well, you're absolutely right. But people are just saying it because that child appears growner than they are at like 2 or 3 years old. The way they handle themselves, the way they speak, their attitudes. That's that inner thing going on, right? The child has been here before, but not in that physical form. It's more of a spiritual form. Not to scare people, though. You don't want to scare people. I appreciate um, every opportunity that I have to meet new people. I appreciate the ability to pay attention and to bring out of me better because of the people that I've met. I Uber. People do not want to get out of my car. They're kind of like, okay, I gotta go. Yeah, I'll take a call because I shouldn't rush it, because maybe, the creator has a purpose for a longer conversation. But I also know that I'm learning when enough is enough. Not that I'm tired of speaking to them, because I could go on. I talk in my sleep. But I think it's a point of enough is enough. But this is what I tell people. You will forget me when you leave my car. No, I won't. No, I won't. You will. But I'm not important. What we shared is important. And this one lady, Wendy, over a month ago, girl, I'm not going to forget you. I'm not going to forget you. And they take my information. I give people my information, my business flyer, my business card, whatever it is. We're talking. No, 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 no. I'm telling you, I'm going to call you. I say, okay. Yeah, it's been over 2 months. And it's okay because what I know is what we shared is most important. I remember what we share. I remember what you give me in terms of information that I'm supposed to be delivering to other people eventually, because I will tell people, I will tell your story. I will not mention your name. What's important about that, if anyone?
I think you're respecting their privacy, and their name is not as important as the moment. How
That's
they
right.
are is more important than who they are.
That's right. And what we shared in their story is something someone else could benefit from. I'll tell their story because their story becomes an example. So I'm not telling their story as gossiping. I tell their story in relation to something else that's going on that's similar that recall works for. And I'll know that it won't be verbatim, but it was the lesson of their story that will help the next person. That's why I get it. I have no other explanation as to why I learned so much about people in 2 minutes. I could have a couple with me, married couple, relationship couple, and within 5 minutes, one will say, "Oh, I didn't know that." Within 5 minutes of the conversation, something will come out of one of them that the other one had never known, because that's just what happens. And so it's almost like is a catalyst, like I'm a catalyst. I think that's the word, maybe, that just like stirs ideas and stirs conversations, and it just like but that's because I used to love the kaleidoscope. So my mind, I don't know if you've ever looked through a kaleidoscope, but that's how my mind works. It's full of colors, it's full of spectrums, it's just crazy beautiful. It's crazy beautiful. So I'm going to open the floor again. Would anyone like to share with us their plans for 2024 and moving forward, and how they feel one could best remove and not take with them what's not going to help them if they've done it themselves, no names mentioned, right? If they've done it themselves, or if they just believe. Because sometimes, okay, like reading comprehension test, you read a paragraph, that's what I just gave you, and then you ask questions on it. So when your doors are open, when the channels are open for your creativity, even if you've never had to do those things, what are your ideas of the way someone could leave behind what's not going to help them move forward in the direction that they want to go in? Okay, so I'll open the floor if you have anything that you'd like to share. And you're not obligated to speak on this podcast because Jada and I could do that. No, we could do that. But I really would love, and if you're watching this on YouTube, okay, so if you're watching this on YouTube and or listening, I encourage people to listen. You don't always have to watch things. So you can shoot me an email, teamfollowme@yahoo.com, based on the questions that I've asked and the information that you would like to share. You could also call. I have a 24-hour hotline now, 347-649-7741. You can call that number at any time if you have show topics or if you want to comment on anything that you've seen on the YouTube. Not Grown Folk Talking. Here's my YouTube. It's youtube.com/at Evadyne Smith 3986. My shows go up on my YouTube. All of them go up on my YouTube. Even the shows that are, even my talks that are not on our podcast network, they're on my YouTube. So if you go to the YouTube and you're listening to anything and you want to comment, you can comment in the YouTube. You can comment via email, teamfollowme@yahoo.com, or you can call that number. Also, you can visit my website, networkingforsuccess.info. Networkingforsuccess.info. There's a lot of things there. You could even get the books there. And if you like to donate the books to an organization, you can, in the promo page, you can purchase the books and direct us on who to donate the books to. They're great for book clubs. They're great for 7 years old and above. And like I say, there's two, but Mind is to Mental is the one I'm really focusing on now. The first book, Suicide is a Serious Killer. Let's End It Today. The word suicide scares people. Once they read the book, they will no longer be scared. Once they read the book, those who are called victims of love's lost, who may have lost people through suicide or attempted suicides, and maybe they just don't know how to have a conversation afterwards, both of the books will help people. It will help bring peace. My co-author designed them that way. So, but Mind is to Mental as teeth are to dental, and we all have a mind, is because our state of mind makes the difference as to whether or not it needs attention. So your state of mind could be the greatest, wonderful, good, cool, in this good space, or it could have a challenge, or it could have a real challenge or a serious challenge. So if it's challenged, it may need to be transferred to the mental department as it's branded in the medical profession. It may get transferred to the mental department for some help. That's okay. I recommend that people find a therapist or coach who knows them at their best. And I say or coach because, again, when you have a friend who you know knows you, and that's why I say find a therapist when you're at your best, because if life ever throws you a curveball and you need to be directed to a professional, it would be best to be directed to the professional who knows you, or that your family member brings in the coach who's been working with you. It could be a teacher. I mean, and I was saying coach as a life coach, but you'd be surprised how many young people are totally connected to the school community in which they spend most of their waking hours, as we do at work, right? Their teachers, their coaches, sometimes even their friends, parents. Relationships have no barriers. You connect to who you connect to because that's who you should be connecting with. Parenting is very tricky when parents believe that they are the only ones, when they don't understand that they've been granted the opportunity to bring forth that child. It doesn't mean that you're the best person to raise that child. Only. That's why they say it takes a village to raise a child. Not because there's something wrong, just because we all have our different qualities. And because that child came from you, that child is a product of generations before you, on both sides, on both sides of the family, right? For which you may not know too much about. But that village, well, you'll find out those pieces. You'll find those pieces to that child's puzzle. We'll find the pieces to our puzzle once we start opening up and realizing that I love Michelle Obama's book, that we are still becoming. We are not done no matter how many times we're turned, no matter how many times we're turned over like a pancake, we are not done until we're done. So until then, we're always becoming more and more of who and who. I recorded, so last week I wasn't going to have a show on New Year's Day. I did not have a show on Christmas Day. But then New Year's Eve, nope, 2 days before that. So I think on the 30th, I decided, wait, how you are not going to have a show on New Year's Day? Like, what? So I had a party. My podcast was a party. And all things going well, I was supposed to air something that I had pre-recorded prior to the show, which was me singing. Well, I did it. I sent it out after that to a couple of people, and I have a sister, Veronica, who is you ever come across a person who can just put words together perfectly? The expression, the way they say it, the way they write it, it is profound, always, always. And this is my sister Veronica. So I sent her the video, and it's about 11 minutes. Really kind of nice. I liked it. And this was her text message to me. She says, I am blown away with all that you do. When did you find time to work on your voice? I was awakened with your speaking ability during my 50th birthday celebration. Never will anyone speak on my behalf again. But this angelic version of your voice, unabashed, unfiltered, just pure and natural, has thrown me. Missy, you are a walking, talking, breathing wonder. Wow. And I was like, oh, how nice. Let the church say amen. That's what I wrote back to her. um, that is so honest of her. Not to just pat me on the back or, praise me because I'm her sister, but to know, let me tell you about this one though. This sister here knows the studios that records were recorded in the 70s. Like, that's her mind and her music. She knows so much history. That is her mind. Her mind is captivating of information, and she holds it and she delivers it. And so she's not just saying that. And I'm okay. I just felt like it's something that I wanted to do. But that was perfect. And I have a friend who says he's my strongest critic. He hasn't responded yet. It's been over a week, right? And it's okay. And I told him, I said, you're my strongest critic. Yes, you are, but you're not always right. Not because he doesn't agree with me. Just he's a perfectionist in a certain kind of way as a Sagittarian. But I love him still. I love him still. I look forward to everyone living their full potential. I look forward to everyone finding their passion and living in their passion. Um, I want to play a clip from Dr. Terrence Howard. It's just a clip, and I will tell you, you'll be able to find it on Maine to Maine, Mayne, and then two, T-O, and then Maymne again, Maine to Maine, with Terrence Howard. To listen to this is from part 2, but there's a part 1. But I was just, again, so impressed with the fact that of him and what I didn't know about him and what I came to learn about him. But this is just a clip. Thank you. Bear with me.
Hello? Young man being raped is what I feel.
I'm sorry. Can y'all hear this?
Because no one else is going to help, and nobody gives a damn about your emotional boo-boos. I read a couple of days ago that's where someone had commented on the reparations should be, trillions of dollars and things of that, and someone commented that, no, if black people, if African Americans are owed reparations, it's from Africa because they were sold by Africa, and they should be happy that they're here because if they were in Africa, they would still be living in dirt and doing all. They have opportunity here. We should be happy that we were raped and beaten and subjugated and forced to do labor for 400 years because we're in a place that we don't have to walk on the dirt. I would rather walk in the dirt and still have my name.
How about that? And everything that comes along with it. Yeah, no doubt about it, brother. Man, I appreciate this avenue we just rolled down, brother, and I'm sure the people that are watching also, able to gain from that. I mean, there's this level of, I think my brother Tony Browder, I shared with you his comment, and, he says that he wishes that there were more conversations about two very serious and enlightened brothers, having conversations such as this publicly so that other people can know it's okay. It's okay for men to talk, in this context is man to man, but, it's very important to show that brothers can build and both brothers can discuss very heavy things. And we're okay. In fact, we're better for it. So, I mean, I really tip my hat to you, man, and really appreciate the transparency that you offer. We got.
Were you all able to hear that from the beginning?
Well, I just heard it. I just called in.
So when you called in, was anything playing?
No. When I called in, it wasn't. But I caught about the last 2 or 3 minutes that you just played.
Sorry, Jada, are you there? Thank you. I think it didn't play
Yes,
perfect.
it didn't play in the beginning, but it picked up. The gentleman had obviously asked a question, and then Terrence Howard started talking.
Okay, I'm going to play it again then. I hope you don't mind.
Was taking those steps. Now, had he a more balanced perspective, I remember the first grown woman that I slept with. I was 14 years old. She was 23. I was staying with my uncle in Canoga Park, and she was playing around with me. Had a hot dog, playing around with a little hot dog, and trying to turn me on at 14. And so one led to another, and I'm in here sleeping with this 23, 24-year-old woman whose husband is in jail, or boyfriend, the father of her daughter, is in jail. And I got so frightened. After a month, I got to thinking, oh, my God, if she's doing this with me, who else must she be doing with? So I had to go tell my mom.
Oh.
And I told my mom, and my mom took me to the doctor, and I had to get up on the table and be prostrated and the doctor was like, you're fine. But that embarrassment of that. And then my uncle, he went and took that lady, befriended her, and ended up taking her to Vegas, where he pimped her for the next 3 years.
Wow.
The same uncle that led me down the right path. But his darkness, that's the pimp that I played from Hustle and Flow, was my uncle.
Wow. You channeled your uncle.
I can't challenge him. Billy was everything to me. He did what he had to do. That's all he. And I can't judge him for the choices that he made, but his way of punishing her was taking those steps. Now, had he a more balanced perspective about what must have happened to her, her to think that was okay. But when it's a man that does it, now that's what how my uncle dealt with her. If it's a man that does it, a man is the boy, is the state. He holds up the foundation. He's the trust. And that's why they punish men even more so, because men are supposed to hold the standard.
Right.
Your morality as a man carries on into everything you do. We can't trust you if you're not a man of your word, if you're not a kind man, if you're not an honest man. And, the man reflects. He reflects what's right, and the reflects love. That's what's supposed to take place. That's how I kind of feel it, And so I feel sorry for the women that this happens to when they're in school. Something else is going on in their life. They're deficient in some place, and some little boy has lost his way. The way I had lost my way. I wish that hadn't happened. That changed my entire perspective. And this is a white woman. So when I ran after white women for a while, this had an effect upon me. So when little boys have been molested by men, what do? Because it had some sexual association for the rest of their lives, they associate sexuality to this first act. That affects their mentality. They keep reliving, that experience. You know, so we got to watch our children a lot more. We've got to watch our families a lot more, because everybody's susceptible to the demons that run in and around our natures. We have the angel and the devil with us. You know, as much as I'm hurt by what that woman did, it was a hell of an experience.
Yeah, right. And see, and I love what I think you meant by, you know, when you're talking to your friend about his pending divorce, that you communicate with your ex, you know, as if she's your oldest daughter. And, you know, what I'm understanding in that, as you still best interest at heart, still there to guide and support to the degree that you can, but also understanding this is an adult who's going to live their life, and you can only be there in the way that you're going to be there.
Agapic. You know, you switch from that eros love to that agapic love, the way that God loves. You know, and is looking, hoping, knowing that one day you're going to be in a good place, and I'm going to look at you as if you're on your way there. I'm not going to you for what you might be hiding or fighting inside of yourself, or anger you might have. I'm going to see the God in you and forward to that perfect reflection. Yeah, so I've gone through a whole lot of different environments growing up, a lot of different influences, you know, and I can't judge any of those people from my history, because they did what was necessary to survive. They did what they felt was necessary to survive. Had they other information, other cultural references, perhaps they would have made different choices. But Black people, you know, in the situation we've been forced into in this country, you know, being dispossessed of our history, our culture, our land, of our name, of our identities, you know, being subjugated for so long, and watching our wives and mothers and sisters be raped, or young men be raped, anyone that stood up, you know. We have a lot of ancestral PTSD that we have to help each other and establish that ourselves, you know, because no one else is going to help, and nobody gives a damn about your emotional boo-boos. I read a couple of days ago that's where someone had commented on the reparations should be, you know, trillions of dollars and things of that, and someone commented that, you know, no, if Black people, or if African Americans are owed reparations, it's from Africa, because they were sold by Africa, and they should be happy that they're here, because if they were in Africa, they would still be living in dirt and doing all. They have opportunity here. We should be happy that we were raped and beaten and subjugated and forced to do labor for 400 years, because we're in a place that we don't have to walk on the dirt. I would rather walk in the dirt and still have my name.
How about that? And everything that comes along with it. Yeah, no doubt about it, brother. Man, I appreciate this avenue we just rolled down, brother, and I'm sure the people that are watching are also, you know, able to gain from that. I mean, there's this level of, I think my brother Tony Browder, I shared with you his comment, and, you know, he says that he wishes that there were more conversations about two very serious and enlightened brothers, you know, having conversations such as this publicly, so that other people can know it's okay. You know, it's okay for men to talk. You know, in this context, it's main to main, but you know what I mean? It's very important to show that brothers can build and both brothers can discuss very heavy things. And we're okay, you know. In fact, we're better for it, you know. So I mean, I really tip my hat to you, man, and really appreciate, you know, the transparency that you're offering. You know, we still got some stuff to dive into. I mean, we're just, what would you say? This the appetizer. The last conversation was appetizer, and I think that the waiters, they just came and cleared the first course, and now they're about to bring in this main course for us. Because what we're also here to talk about is, you know, that aspect of you that is the scientist. Right. And I mean, again, one of my sole purposes, and I gave you my word, brother, is that I'm rolling with you. And one of my sole purposes is to help to reintroduce you to the world so that people can get a better understanding of this part of you, you know, because to me, it's so valuable. Right. And I understand what you're putting on the table, and I'm here for it, man. So, I mean, if we go ahead and shift gears a little bit, one of the things that people talked about was the intervals with the elements. And I remember when I was looking at that spiral that you had drawn of the periodic table. And you briefly told me about how, the theory is that, or the understanding is that one element evolves and it grows and turns into the next element. So can you talk about that a little bit? And you also said that hydrogen is actually not the first one. Like, based on the pattern, it has to be, I think you said 4 before it?
Oh, there's Walter Russell in 1926 did a book called The Universal One.
Okay.
He wrote another treatise in 1954 to the Universal One. In the Universal One, yes, new concept of the universe, by Walter Russell. In that book and in the Universal One, he attributed each element to its tonal position and based upon how its orbit. If the orbit was completely spherical, he knew that this was a solid tone. But one of the things that he recognized is every element has a noble gas that precedes before it and after it. And there are 3 steps to folding an element. And an element is just a pressure condition. It's just a periodic pressure condition. And we say periodic because it repeats itself. Mm. Something predictable. When you get this kind of pressure condition, this is the element that will show, or this is the crystallization that will occur. If you get this pressure condition, the crystallization is even tighter. You get this pressure condition, the crystallization is tighter. And we call each of those crystallizations a different element. But it's the same substance under different motion and pressure conditions, predictable motion and pressure conditions. So hydrogen, having the same exact tone as carbon and silicon and cobalt and cobalt. Okay, hold on. Rhodium. Sorry, hydrogen having those same tonal conditions. If carbon has 3 elements that precede before it, lithium, beryllium, boron, and then in the next octave, silicon has 3 elements that precede before it, the sodium, the magnesium, the aluminum, and even cobalt has 3 solid circular things that happen before it, potassium, calcium, scandium. Hmm. And if A is equal to B and B is equal to C, then A should be equal to C. So how is it that hydrogen doesn't have 3 elements that precede before it and also 3 elements that precede after it before you get to helium?
Right.
It's an entire octave within itself. It's an entire range of pressure conditions. But our senses, because of our temporal dimension, because of how our minds and heartbeat, how it is set to the universal constant, we can only perceive motion when 4 bubbles come together. We cannot perceive higher conditions or higher states of matter or more dense states of matter because its temporal dimension is different from us. So the very first thing we can see is hydrogen. But there's 21 other elements that occur before it, and all of those elements are not things that's been here forever. Those are conditions, conditional facts, because once you change the condition, it changes the fact. Once you change the condition of carbon, once you take carbon out of that equalized pressure condition between helium and neon, and you move it just a little bit to a discharging state, it unwinds into nitrogen. Hmm. And that nitrogen, it unwinds into oxygen as the centripetal force takes over where the centripetal force, which is electric, was keeping it tightly bound. As it unwinds, we see it as a different element, but it's the same exact element, same exact noble gas, same exact set of curves that we just perceive as something different because of our ignorance.
And so just and thank you for that, elucidating it in that way. It makes it very plain, and I'm sure, it's just because I've studied chemistry at some level that I'm able to follow and keep up to a degree. but I'm hearing you say the different pressure conditions. So it's similar to how, and I know we're not changing from carbon, it's still carbon, but how pressure creates, pressure on carbon creates diamonds, and it's a different configuration of the same thing, and it's based on the pressure condition.
That's a different crystallization based on the change in pressure and motion conditions. And it never gets more complicated than that. But someone a long time ago spread the lie that there was all these different elements and that things broke down at the quantum scale and behaved completely different than they do at this scale that we're seeing it. And these were just, might as well have been bedtime stories.
And, and part of that is like gatekeeping, if you will.
What do you need, son?
Hey. And so, like, part of it is like gatekeeping, right? So, they make things overcomplicated to keep the masses confused and dependent. I found that to be the case in many arenas that I've been in, where people are overcomplicated. I'm like, wait a minute, ain't that just? And they look at me like, shh, don't say that, because then people will be enlightened and they'll be less dependent upon those who claim to have this supreme and superior understanding.
Like having to go through the priest, to the father, to the Jesuit priest, to talk to, the Pope, that will hopefully talk to Jesus and hopefully talk to God on your behalf, when all you have to look inside and speak to the Creator with it.
That's what, if I'm not mistaken, in the Council of Nicaea, if you look at the Nicene Creed, they speak specifically of a person named Arius, who they were actually saying, don't follow that person's doctrine. And they said, matter of fact, take dude out if you can. That's not in the creed itself, but that was a part of the whole council, was to go against what this African, it was North African, was saying, which was, you don't need an intercessor. You don't need somebody coming on your behalf.
Right.
God is saying you.
What I'm
just like the ancient African cultures and civilizations have always taught.
Just a guideline
as far as recorded
of
history.
how you
Anybody there?
Yes, thank you. So I thank you all for listening in. Hold on one second. One second. She keeps coming in. Thank you very much for listening in on that. That was Dr. Terrence Howard. He has received an honorary PhD, but he's an actor, as we know him, and mathematical and scientific, I'm going to say genius, based on some of the patents that he has put forth. But of course, others might say something different. Anyone have any comments on what you've heard? Okay. Anyone have any comments on anything from today's conversation thus far?
I think he made some very interesting points.
Thank you, Jay.
And gave us a lot of food for thought. And it also goes to show that people can be much deeper than we may assume.
Thank you. Thank you. The first part of that clip is where he explained that he was molested as a child, and he made reference to us not knowing other people's demons and what they're carrying with them that causes them to behave in such ways. However, what is most likely done, and more to men, I think, as he referenced, than women, when it comes to abuse of children, sexual abuse, or even of adults, if you have people who are adults who are raping adults, that the why factor is so far removed from understanding the how to get everyone to recover. And I love what he said about the divorce piece, where I have a video, it's on my YouTube, how to have a happy divorce. And my suggestion is that you have a happy divorce by going through it and coming out of the marriage the same way you came into it, I hope. And that should be whole and sane and without anger. Because through the relationship, we know when it is falling apart. And it's falling apart for different reasons. But we know it. We see it. But sometimes we ignore it until someone reaches that point and they say, I want a divorce, or I don't want to be in this anymore. And it could be the person who may have gotten hurt in the relationship who's making that decision, but then so many years usually pass while they're in that. But I love what he said, where if it's a man to a woman, you treat the woman like she's your oldest daughter. You treat her as you're exiting that relationship like you don't want her to be wounded, and vice versa. Treating the man like you don't want him to be wounded. But that's really only, no, that can be done when you come in whole and you stay whole through your relationship. People sometimes come into relationships and marriages, because they were speaking about divorce, for what they can get from the other person. So what hurts them the most is what they feel like they're losing. If they've put all of their marbles into that person's bowl, hoping that that person was going to create a bigger bowl of marbles for them, and then that relationship is ending, it's not just the relationship, but it's the idea of the big bowl of marbles, which is usually financial. And then sometimes security and dependency, having another person. So when all of that seems to be breaking apart, people get angry as they're trying to grab hold. I think that also happens, I feel, that also happens with people who have dementia, that their subconscious knows that their conscious mind is not in the control that it used to be in. So the subconscious kind of fights to hold on to normalcy as much as possible, because one of the things I hear is that sometimes they're very strong and violent, but if they weren't strong and violent before the disorder, again, the why factor, why would they be violent with the disorder? And I just think it's the subconscious, because in my head, the subconscious is very powerful, very, very powerful. And it knows that the outward portion of their being is not the same, and others are not doing things to hurt them, but doing things maybe against their will, against what they would prefer to have. And so they become very, like we all would, very defensive, you know. Thank you. Any other comments on anything? Thank you, Jada. Okay, so I'm going to just move into the second part, which is about tax preparation. But I will first ask if anyone has any specific questions, because that would be most important. Any specific questions about tax preparation, how to prepare for it themselves, someone they know asking for a friend, any kind of question that you would want to have directly answered before I go into a brief summary of how to best prepare. Anyone?
Thank you, Evadyne. One question I got from somebody, and I told them I would try to get an answer. But They are trying to form an LLC, and they're not sure what would be the best way to set up the tax structure of it. So they don't know whether they should be taxed as, I think, an S corp or as an LLC, I believe it is. So that's my question.
Thank you. So if they're setting up an LLC as a sole proprietor, as a single member LLC, then when they file their taxes, they're going to set up the LLC. The EIN number is going to be associated to their Social Security number. And when they file their taxes as an LLC, they can file their business taxes. And this is moving forward because if they didn't set it up yet, they're not doing it. But if they started operating their business without the formation yet, then they would, in their tax return, in their regular 1040 individual or joint, they would also have a Schedule C. And the Schedule C is for a sole proprietorship and an LLC. Information can go on the Schedule C, and it's incorporated in their individual or joint return if they file a joint return. An S Corp is different. So an S Corp, they would have to file an 1120S. And again, if they're a single member or a partnership, then at the end of the process of the 1120S, then the net profit would be split. So they each partner, let's say it was a partnership, each partner would receive a K1, and that K1 is saying from this S corp, this individual net profit is X amount, and then the other partner would get a K1 saying that from that S corp, this individual net profit is this amount. And then they take the K1, and the K1 gets incorporated in their individual tax return.
Okay. So not the business tax return, but the individual tax return.
The business tax return, the 1120S, is a business tax return for the corporation. But once that return, so let's say they made $10,000 and had $2,000 in expenses. Their net profit from that S corp, that business, is going to be $8,000. If it's an individual, that individual transfers that $8,000 over into their regular tax return through a K1. A K1 is the form that pulls the profit out of the 1120S tax return and brings it over into the individual's tax return, whether it's a individual or joint return.
Okay, thank you.
Was that clear? A little bit?
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
So the LLC gets filed automatically with a Schedule C in the individual's tax return. So you can have a Schedule A if you itemize, if you have a house, if you're writing off interest and things like that. You can have a Schedule A in your regular tax return. You can have a Schedule E if you have rental property. That's a different schedule, but in your tax return. Then you can have a Schedule D if you have investment income, right? But the K1, well, the Schedule C is for sole proprietors, Uber drivers, barbershops, daycare centers, LLCs. All of that goes into a regular tax return. It's just different schedules that get attached to the tax return. If it is an S corp, there's a specific return for the corporation, which is an 1120S. That return is completed and filed. The net profit or loss on that schedule, on that 1120S, now gets transferred into the regular return on a specific line, but in the regular return as profit or loss.
Okay.
Okay?
All right. Makes sense. All right. Thank you.
And you have my number if they have questions.
Okay, great. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So here's the deal with me. I'm learning. So this is what I'm learning for 2024, that I need to make sure that people understand exactly what I offer and how I offer it. So this is why I say that. So there's a $25 30-minute consultation fee. If I prepare your return, it's included in the fee. So if I charge, let's say I charge $150 to the client and we do a consult first, if I prepare your return, then all you're paying me is the $150. But if it's just a consult, then you have to pay me for the consult, because people will come and get information, which is okay. I have no problem with it, but they'll spend the time, get the information, and walk away. And as a senior in 3 months, I must learn how to make sure that my time equals dollars, respectively, but not to hurt anyone, just to help. Does that make sense? Okay, I think that makes sense. All right.
Yeah, it
So,
makes sense.
thank you, Marcus. Oh, Glenn. Thank you, Glenn. So, any more questions before I give just a brief overview? And once again, we are on Grown Folk Talk and Express Yourself. This is Evadyne with Company, talk worth listening to. I always do my best to bring talk that I feel is worth listening to, but I hope that everyone else kind of feels like they got 10 minutes worth of something out of the 2 hours that we may spend together. But I know I do my best to bring what I feel is valuable on one level or another. Following my show, once again, at 7 p.m. is slot time every Monday except the last Monday of the month. The last Monday of the month is the King's Roundtable, hosted by Leon. Every morning at 7 a.m. is the prayer line. And if you're interested in the Daniel fast, I believe they started it yesterday. But on that prayer line is where they follow up and follow through. So 7 a.m. and it's all on 520-525-8633. So that's at 7 a.m. tomorrow. At 6 p.m. we have Grace Space with Deborah, Jada, and Karen. And on still Tuesday, 7:30 p.m., you have the Pink Sofa Talk with Carol Lucille. You can call into that same line, 520-525-8633, and get the entire show line up. You could go to the YouTube, Grown Folk Talk and Express Yourself. You will see the hot mic. That's when you'll know you're on the right channel. You can go to my website, networkingforsuccess.info, and I'm just going to give you that, networkingforsuccess.info. That's my universal business location. And when you're there, you can click on promo. You'll be able to purchase the books. You can click on travel sales. You'll be able to get your own travel portal and look at a travel opportunity. I say as long as we have Earth, people are going to travel. So more often for less money sounds fine to me. You can click on the podcast. And when you click on the podcast, then you'll get information on how to plug into my YouTube and the other podcasts that I have and the other shows that I have. And I thank you very much again. So, taxes. Every year, around this time, it's when you reconcile your income with your expenses, get some credits, and hopefully walk away with a refund. And I say reconcile because it's about how much you make, how much you paid in, the credits the government will give you toward and off of your income that can help you get back some of what you've paid out. It's hardly ever, unless it's stimulus money, do you receive anything back if you didn't put anything in? Except if you're married, you have two options: married filing joint, married filing separate, as long as you live in the same home as your spouse. If you are separated and not living in the same home on the last day of the year, you both have the opportunity to file single. If you are single with a child or two and you have a non-custodial parent, I always recommend that if the non-custodial parent is actively involved in the child's life, financially, spiritually, morally, that when filing the tax return, the custodial parent can file single, claiming the child, and the non-custodial parent can file head of household, using the child as a qualifying dependent. In order to file head of household, you have to have a qualifying person. It could be your child or your parent. It's not that one person is being claimed by two people. One person is being used for a filing status by one person, the non-custodial, and the other parent, the custodial parent, is able to claim the child. I think that's only fair as long as the non-custodial parent, again, is actively involved financially, morally, or spiritually involved in the child's life. And I say that because financially may not be possible, and everybody has their, their own things that they work out. But if the non-custodial parent, it could be the mother or the father, there's cases all the way around. Everybody should be able to benefit for doing their part. So that is always my recommendation. Parents, if your young person is doing that thing that we want them to do, they have grown up, they are now working. Whew, how happy we are. Well, now that it's tax time, you have to remember that for the last 16, 17, 18, 19 years, they have watched you and your excitement around this time because it's always money related. So now they're doing their thing. They're out there working, maybe going to school too, and they're ready to file taxes because they're excited because they watch your excitement for 18, 19, 20 years, right? To get a refund. Well, parents, depending on how much money your child made, you have to determine if they are claiming themselves or if you're still claiming them. So an example is when I had a parent come in and she wanted to claim her daughter. She was paying her car fare, giving her lunch money. The daughter was still living home, but she was working. And we said, well, we need to know how much money your daughter made. The following week, she comes back with the daughter's W-2. Well, the mother was making 17 and the daughter was making 34. The mother was shocked. She was shocked. But I'm still paying her phone bill, and I'm still doing that. Okay, well, now you know you don't have to anymore. That came from lack of communication and habit forming. We're in the habit of taking care of our young people. So we're not weaning ourselves off of the process, nor are we weaning them. But they're not going to let us wean them for the most part. I mean, the daughter's making double the mother. And obviously, maybe she never said, well, Ma, I don't need you to do that anymore. I can do it on my own. The mother was doing it. It's important to have the conversation as our young people are growing into adulthood for their sake, most importantly, for their sake. You have that conversation because you want to make sure they're on track to a financially stable future with saving, spending, investing. Not because you don't want to take care of them anymore, but if you've done that and you've done that well, they are now about to do their thing. And we want them to do their thing, right? We do. So have the conversation with your working young person so you can see how much they've made, and the best way for them to file. Now, what I do, I prepare both returns, and I show the parent and the young person exactly what the young person would receive in a refund if the parent didn't claim them, right? And this is when the child didn't make that much over, that much income. They could have been working the summer, then started working after they graduated. So they may be at 12,000, but if the parent makes 54,000, the parent can still claim them depending. If the child is in college and the parent claims them, then the parent also receives the education credit. The 8863 form is filled out for tuition, if tuition is paid. So I prepare both returns. I show the child and the parent, the clients, the results. And if it is favorable for the parent to claim the child, I encourage the parent to give the child the difference of the refund. Because once we indicate someone else could claim you on the young adult's return, it changes their refund. And they usually owe the state. So it could go from them getting maybe $800 as an example to now only getting $60 on the federal, and from them getting $200 from the state and now owing the state $400. Well, I encourage the parent to pay the young person the difference of the refund. And if the young person owes, I encourage the parent to pay what they owe to the state and give them whatever they were getting from the state. And why? Because if the parent is claiming the child and it's resulting usually in over 2,000 or 3,000 more to the parent's return, to their refund, then the parent is still getting more, because if they don't claim the child, in some cases, the parent could owe. So I sound like a fair tax preparer, right? Non-custodial, custodial, our young adults who are moving into adulthood and the parent. And it's really just helping us to be better prepared for the future. To be better prepared for the future, because for a fact, as long as that young adult continues on their path, the parent is not going to be able to claim them that next year, because if the child only worked part-time in half the year, in 2023, let's say, they're definitely going to make much more money for which the parent is not going to be able to claim them. So we want to wean everyone, but we want to also be very fair. It is an opportunity for people to have the conversation about their finances with their tax preparer, because as you are planning for hopefully retirement in 10 or 15 years, some people, or maybe 30 years, the younger you are getting started and creating your own retirement, the better off you are. Now, for young people right now, I'm encouraging them as they are embarking on their financial work-life future to purchase whole life policies. And I encourage them to do that because the cash value that builds up in whole life policies is not only very valuable, but very accessible, tax-free, and with no penalty if you should happen to need it. Whereas if you purchase a retirement product, pre-tax, an annuity, an IRA, if you happen to need a lump sum of money and that's your only source, if you're under 59 and a half years of age, there'll be a tax on it and a penalty on it. So you won't even be getting what you're looking to get out. And again, with the whole life policy, the cash value is tax-free. and penalty free. And of course, you could do both. You could do both. But that's about planning, and that's very important. If you are self employed, I've seen a couple of videos online where they can show you how to get all of your money back. You know, you don't pay taxes, you write off all your expenses. But again, I speak about my friend Michael Jackson. He's the man in the mirror. And he says, I say to what he says, the man in the mirror is you. People think they're hiding it from the man. If they're working and not reporting their income, they're hiding it from the man, the man, the man. You are the man. If you make $40,000 and you write off $30,000, you're only reporting to Social Security $10,000 in income for that year. It's better than zero, but when it comes time to get your Social Security, retirement, or if you should become disabled and need to get Social Security disability, your check is going to be reflected by the amount of money that you reported to Social Security. So when you're self-employed, I recommend people to put away 30%. Just put away 30% of whatever you get, so that when tax time comes, if you owe, you'll have the money available to pay. And who are you paying? You're paying the federal government. They keep a piece of it, but you're really paying yourself. You're paying yourself. You're depositing into your Social Security and Medicare as a self-employed individual. And even if you have a job and you have a business, an independent business along with it, still, I would not buy down my income with expenses. If you can help it, it's totally up to what you need. Yes, you will have the withholdings from your job to offset it, but you want to be able to have a very nice Social Security retirement check, because that's a lifetime check. As long as life is long, the Social Security retirement check is lifelong. And if you have children and you become disabled, not only do you get a check from Social Security based on your work credits, but your child gets a check too. So just kind of keep that in mind. Your tax preparer needs to know that your receipts are all together. I don't think we really want to sit there and tally them up for you. We're not your bookkeepers, nor are we your accountants. We're your tax preparers. So you have your receipts and you provide a summary of income and expenses. And as long as the two balance, then that's how your Schedule C will be prepared. If you have a two-family home and you have rental income and you do repairs, it's only the repairs on the rental unit that you're going to be able to write off. You're not going to be able to write off your personal kitchen renovation. But if you renovate the rental unit, you can write that off, the expenses associated with that. You can write off half of the heating. If you can write off half of the electricity. If you provide common area electricity, like the hallway going up the stairs or down the stairs to the rental unit. If you do a roof repair or boiler, those things are covering the whole house, so you get to write off a portion. Okay. Anything else? Any questions? Going once, going 4 times, going 19? No, really. Any questions? Okay. Well, I think that's the basics of tax preparation. Go in prepared and ready to do well. And even if you drop off your taxes, when you pick them up, or if you get them back virtually via email, go over the return. Because when you sign, you're signing that you agree to everything that's on those pages. So go over that return with your preparer. Let them explain to you everything that's on it. I've seen audits done where preparers put in all kinds of expenses and education and books and materials. And so when the audit comes, you have to provide receipts. That's what the agency wants to see. Show us proof that all of this stuff related to you. And if you can't, then of course, if it allowed you to get a refund, you have to pay back that money, the difference of that money, and pay it back with interest. So you want to agree to everything that's on those pages before you sign off and let it get sent. If you live in New York and you are retired and you are not filing a tax return, you're leaving New York State money on the table because New York State gives a real estate tax credit and a school tax credit, and it all depends on your income is how much of each one you will receive. The school tax credit is usually just $62, but the real estate tax credit is based on how much rent you pay and what your income is, and that could be up to $200 or $300. So, and that's just from New York State. I remember I had a client come in, and when we told her her refund was going to be $5,000, she popped up. It scared me how quickly she popped up her head. She was like 79 then, and she had never gotten back that much money. So when I reviewed her documents, I realized that Social Security was taking $600 a month from her, Social Security. So it was like 5,000 federal withholdings on her Social Security. Well, I had her come in on my day off, and we reviewed her past tax returns, and the tax preparers never put in that $5,000 in federal taxes that were withheld. Unfortunately, we couldn't go back more than 3 years. So she was able to get almost $16,000. About definitely $15,000 plus interest for those years that we were able to amend. Well, I know what disturbed me the most about that, but what disturbed you all, if anybody would like to comment about that situation? Okay, what disturbed me the most was that the federal government was not protecting our seniors. Is that the federal government knew for a fact that they had withheld $5,000 from her income for those other years that they knew was not in her tax return. That disturbed me the most, that the federal government, the Internal Revenue Service, is not protecting the stakeholders. Because just like if she didn't report income, they audit to say and send you letters and say you failed to report this income and now you owe us, they really should be doing the same thing, especially for our seniors. That's what disturbed me the most. But, well, that's all I have to share today. Anyone have any questions or comments? It was a great show. I appreciated all of the time you spent with me. And again, 7 p.m. slot time today on Monday, the last Monday of the month, the King's Roundtable, 7 a.m., the prayer line, and they're following the Daniel fast if you're interested. 6 p.m., Grace Space with Deborah, Jada, and Karen. 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, 6 p.m. on Tuesday, 7:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the Pink Sofa Talk with Carol Lucille. This is Evadyne with Evadyne with Company, talk worth listening to. I showed up today on this show with I'm Coming Out. The first part of our conversation was moving forward into 2024, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 30, moving forward in life. What are your plans for success How do you know what to leave behind, and how do you know what to bring with you so that your success is successful? I thank you again. Any questions or comments? Final thoughts?
Thanks for the information. Good show. Good show. I learned a lot.
Thank you very much. And Marcus, please, what's happening with your show? Tell us about the show that you participate in. What is happening?
Oh, well, I co-host the third Friday of every month with Adrian. That's Can We Talk with Adrian on the Grown Folks Talk Network, Fridays at 6 p.m. Eastern Time. So the third Friday of the month, every month, is the Friday that I bring a topic, which I've been bringing in bite-sized pieces now, which is dealing with neighborhood and community association, and a little bit of education along with it, so that the things that maybe we did not know are at least available, and the information is available to.
Thank you very much. And always looking forward to Can We Talk. And again, we have a variety of shows here on the Grown Folk Talking Network. Anyone else on would like to announce their show or any other event? All right, then. Again, any final comments? Then I thank you all for being on. This is Evadyne with Evadyne with Company, Talk Worth Listening To. Please check out my Universal business location at networkingforsuccess.info. Networkingforsuccess.info. And again, why do I say it's universal? Because worldwide is on Earth, and there are people off of Earth who are plugging in via satellite. So I thank you all. 347-457-2769 is my contact number, and the hotline number, 347-649-7741. And if you know anyone who's interested in having a podcast, have them call that last number, and we'll get back to them. Thank you very much.